Hello everybody, we are in Oregon today driving the all-new 2025 Buick Enclave. Now this is a majorly important vehicle for the brand, and Buick is actually undergoing a massive change right now. This is the 3-row SUV. It's a very important vehicle for the brand. And Buick is really trying to shake the stigma of Buick being a brand for old people. And how they're doing that is by introducing really dramatic, very cool, very stylish designs. And with this new 3-row SUV, I think they did a really good job. It doesn't look anything like the one that came before it. The old one was nice, but kind of generic. This one is really bold, really in your face. You know, it has a massive upright grille. And I'm not a huge fan of the squinty headlights, but the benefit of that is that now the whole Buick family looks like the same family. They're all using that really cool, very bold design language. And I love to see it. And I think they've done a really great job making Buick feel more premium than it has in the past. So this is the entirely new generation Enclave, and they said from bumper to bumper it is completely different. And this is the brand's flagship SUV. That means that it sits at the very top of the Buick lineup, and it's supposed to be a great showcase for what the brand has to offer. So this is really supposed to show everyone the best of everything Buick has to offer right now. And I think as a flagship SUV, they did a really good job. So one of the big changes they made for this new generation is that they dropped the V6 engine. And so now it's powered by a 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It has about 320 something horsepower and about the same amount of torque. And those are both actually increases over last generation's output with the V6. It's also supposed to be a lot more fuel efficient. Driving in Portland, you know, in Oregon, there's a lot of elevation changes. I don't feel like the engine is the best match for this huge SUV. I do think it is a little bit underpowered, especially driving in the mountains. The engine struggles a lot going up hills. It's very loud. And I also feel like the transmission, which is an 8-speed automatic, it holds gears for slightly too long. So you're just like waiting for something to happen. But other than that, I think the driving experience is really good. It's very smooth. Buick has done a lot of work to ensure that the cabin is super quiet. Everything from like laminated glass to extra seals. And then they also have new standard active noise cancellation, which kind of works in the same way that your earpods would. So it is very quiet in here and very smooth, which is what Buick is all about. Something else that is completely new for this generation is this wide screen. It is absolutely massive, and it's the center point of the entire cabin. And I really like it because it's very customizable. So it's also a Google-based system, and that's really awesome because that means that the in-house navigation is so intuitive and user-friendly. Everyone knows how to use Google Maps, and so I really love that that's the navigation system they used. And there's some other good news too. So it also comes standard with wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is a huge relief because a lot of the newer GM vehicles that use this new Google-based infotainment system don't have Apple CarPlay, which is a major red flag for a lot of people. So I'm glad that they continue to offer CarPlay here. But I really like the infotainment system. Everything is very intuitive, very easy to use. There's not a very large learning curve, but I also like it because it's very customizable. So if you don't want to show your maps on the main screen, you can show it in the gauge cluster portion, which is really nice. But then they also have a customizable row of shortcuts where you can just drag and drop the icons for the stuff you use most often. So it's always right where you need it to be. And it's that kind of attention to detail that I really love to see when it comes to infotainment systems. They've also mixed in a lot of physical buttons. Thank God. Everybody's been moving away to capacitive touch, and I just hate that. So I really love that there are physical toggles and buttons here, and that everything is really easy to use. Practicality wise, this SUV is also much bigger than it used to be. It's wider, taller, longer. That means more room for passengers, more room for cargo. They did a really great job thinking of families and how they would use a 3-row SUV like this. And so everything is just really practical. One new thing is they have this center console that is now floating, and it opens up a huge cargo space underneath where you can throw something like your takeout or your bag, and it's out of sight. So, you know, no one's going to be tempted to steal it, and stuff like that I really love. The third row, obviously it's going to be a little bit tight, which is kind of normal for this segment, but it should be totally fine for some kids or some adults on a shorter trip. But even for me, I'm not a tall person and I don't have a huge amount of leg room. There is decent headroom because there's a cutout in the ceiling that allows you a little bit more space. But I also really love that it's super easy to get in and out of the third row. The second row has a really great one-touch power move, so you know, even a kid could get into the third row by themselves, which is great. There's also a lot of options for folding down seats. Everything folds flat too. There's a huge trunk in the back. It has massive underfloor storage, and all the buttons to fold the seats are back there too. Everything is just really thought out, really kept families and practicality in mind, which is awesome. So this is also the first time that GM's Supercruise is offered on any Buick, and that's a major deal because I honestly think Supercruise is maybe the best adaptive cruise control driver assistance system that is out there right now. It allows you to drive on hundreds of thousands of kilometers of pre-mapped divided highways, and it is one of the only systems out there where you can actually remove your hands from the wheel. When we're using it, it is very smooth. I found it very easy to trust what it's doing because it communicates with you very well, so you're not left in the dark. You know what it's doing. You'll also see when it's working because there will be a green light that shows in the steering wheel. It just feels very natural. You know, it'll slow down before entering a curve so it doesn't feel like you're just barreling through. And it'll even change lanes by itself to pass someone, which is very cool. And it really reduces the stress of long highway drives. So I absolutely love Supercruise. And it's cool because it's actually available in every single trim of this SUV, and typically you would have to only buy the top line one to get Supercruise, but I'm really happy that it's available on even the base trim. Another nice thing is that Buick includes pretty much every single safety feature they have as standard in every single trim. And so even the base trim is so well loaded with standard features. It's actually a great value. So to start, it's around $58,000 for the base trim, which is, like I said, really well stocked with features. And then there is the ST trim in the middle, which adds some sportier looking aesthetic details. And then at the top of the line is the Avenir, which we're driving now, which is really the luxury trim of all of them. That's the trim that they feel best represents Buick's ambitions to go more upmarket and more premium. And I gotta say, it's really nice in here. Like, it does feel worth the price they're asking. There's a lot of nice materials used, not too much hard plastic, and the hard plastic they do use is not in areas that you touch all the time, so it's easier to forgive. But in general, I'm very impressed with what's going on in this Enclave. They've done a great job updating it, making it more stylish, making it more efficient, and most importantly, making it more practical and user-friendly. I'm actually really excited to drive this SUV for a longer test drive when we're home, so stay tuned for that. Until then, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.